The Kristersson Swedish government, a racist deception. The Swedish government, led by Kristersson, is actively engaged in a campaign of deceit, painting refugees as a massive drain on the nation's resources. Their commissioned study, spearheaded by Johansson at the National Institute of Economic Research, Conjuncture Institute KI, shamelessly claims that each refugee costs the country a staggering 74,000 kronor annually. This is nothing short of state-sponsored propaganda. However, a report by historical economic researcher Johansson, conducted for the Institute for Trade Union Idea Development, Institute for Facklig Idea Utveckling Catalys, exposes this lie for what it is. Johansson's analysis unequivocally demonstrates that the government is deliberately misleading the Swedish public, stoking the flames of division and nurturing vile prejudices against refugees. This tactic is straight out of the Donald Trump playbook. Create a twisted parallel reality and demand blind faith from the masses. Numbers are fundamental to the way ordinary Swedes think, influencing everything from daily choices to long-term financial planning, like the immense cost of raising children or even the simple act of hosting a relative for dinner. Knowing this, the current Swedish government's calculated move to commission this bogus study on immigration costs is a deliberate attempt to manipulate public perception. They want every Swede to see a refugee as nothing more than a financial burden, an unwelcome drain on their hard-earned taxes. Imagine the insidious effect this has. Every time a Swede encounters a refugee on the street or on public transport, the government wants them to be consumed by resentment, believing that this individual is costing them 74,000 kronor a year. This is especially vile when directed towards vulnerable individuals like an Eastern woman with her children. The truth is undeniable. The current Swedish government is in bed with the far-right Sweden Democrats, implementing their racist agenda through unjust policies. Their primary objective is crystal clear: slash immigration and foster a hostile environment for anyone of foreign origin. Their pathetic arguments that immigrants are an economic burden, a strain on welfare, and a threat to the labor market are nothing but racism. They can no longer openly spew hate based on skin color or religion, so they hide behind the pathetic excuse of cultural differences, portraying refugees as a threat to their so-called superior Swedish culture. It's a tragedy that these bigoted views, held by a select few politicians, can wield such power in a democracy. By scapegoating minorities, this despicable government is desperately trying to deflect attention from their own catastrophic failures: a stagnant economy, a soaring unemployment rate nearing 10%, and a shocking 25% surge in food prices since 2022. Johansson's research exposes the fraudulent nature of the government's calculations. He reveals that their methodology doesn't reflect the true economic impact of immigration, but merely illustrates how money flows within the tax and welfare systems. By this twisted logic, if immigrants as a group have lower average incomes and thus pay less in taxes, they are deemed a burden. Apply the same flawed logic to other groups, like women with historically lower average incomes, and they too would be absurdly labeled an economic burden. This idiotic calculation completely ignores vital contributions made by immigrants. For instance, a staggering 50,000 individuals of immigrant origin work in Sweden's elderly care sector, performing essential services that keep society functioning. Yet, according to the government's racist narrative, they too could be viewed as a drain on the economy. The government is desperately trying to conceal the irrefutable fact that immigration has been and continues to be a significant driver of economic productivity, providing essential workers for the public sector and mitigating the disastrous effects of a declining and aging population. Without immigration, Sweden will be facing a severe demographic crisis. Those who obsess over some mythical cultural purity and push for policies that facilitate the expulsion of people or make their lives unbearable are not acting in Sweden's best interests. Swedish voters, regardless of their background, must wake up and recognize these politicians for the dangerous racists they are. We must heed the warnings of researchers like Tony Johansson, who relies on cold, hard economic facts, not fear-mongering. Closing borders and restricting the rights of immigrants will inevitably lead to a lower standard of living, a collapse of public services, and higher taxes for everyone. The Swedish government's current path is not just morally reprehensible, it is a recipe for national disaster.